Winslow and Waterville identical.
Where are the, and why are the differences?
Well, we sat in my office, Jeff and Boyd and I, and we discussed the different scenarios that we could possibly run into. And what we did was we increased our gravel shoulder to $10 a square yard versus $5 a square yard for the, everybody thought that $5 a square yard was a little too low, so we went 10. We're adding $20 a lineal foot for curbing. So if somebody comes in and they open it up and they tear out curbing, we're gonna actually be reimbursed for that because curbing is higher, especially if they use the curbing machine, than no curbing. So we wanted to be compensated for that. We're not charging for concrete pavement, where everybody else is 75 yards, and the primary reason is because we have no concrete pavement anywhere in Oakland, or any concrete roads. And these other towns apparently feel as though maybe they do have some. We're charging an initial permit fee of $25, which is considerably lower than the other towns. And we're still retaining 90%. It all equates to about the same thing. It's just we're using a different form. We didn't copy everybody's. We sat down and we looked at it on an individual basis, what works, we felt works for us.
Just to explain, for those of us who don't have a sense, when it says gravel shoulder, $10 per square yard,
Right.
how do you determine what that is?
Well, we measure it. What we do is we ask them to estimate, and then we come back and follow up and check the measurement. So if they go into the ditch and they're digging up the ditch on the gravel shoulder, they may not, this ensures that they compact it to the 95% or whatever the compaction rate that's required to have, so you don't end up with a divot in there and it runs the water down. And that was the reason why we ended up with the gravel. Everything gets remeasured. They'll come in with the permit to come up with a permit, and they'll give us the measurements, and we check their measurements, and this is how we verify the.
So on this particular project, 1,000 feet installed within pavement with a trench width of 6 feet and a pavement thickness of 4 inches.
Right.
That's where you come up with those dollars.
That's correct. And it's going to be based on. That's correct.
If there's a different project where there is no pavement, they're just doing shoulder, they're going everything off the road and they dig up, would we have similar prices? Would they be similarly the same in each case, or are they going to be?
No, if there's no hot top, then it's not, the pavement portion of it's going to be taken out of the equation.
Right, but when you compare town to town to town, are we still similar? If there's no pavement?
If it's gravel, we're gonna be probably twice as high as the other towns, because both Jeff and Boyd felt as though $5 a square yard wasn't enough. And it's just a matter of preference. We discussed it and hashed it around, and and Jeff's concern was the water damage if the shoulder wasn't done correctly.
And what's non-gravel or pavement areas?
Where are you
About
seeing?
halfway down the page, ordinance items. The first one's they got the thickness of pavements. So I'm assuming if they're,
Fourth one down there.
Yeah, non-gravel or pavement areas, crushed stone, riprap, stuff that they're using on County Road, Country Club Road, across the road from your son's place where the riprap is down along, that would be non-pavement or non-gravel, the replacement of that.
but what would the pavement? Non-gravel or pavement?
Non-gravel or meaning non-gravel or pavement, it doesn't fit either one of those classifications. It's non-gravel or non-pavement, it probably should state non-pavement areas.
Okay, right, okay. Non-gravel or non-pavement areas.
Right, that's probably, the non goes for both.
And the thickness is, if it's a 4-inch thick pavement,
Right, such as K&D would be 4 inches of pavement up there, so it would be more expensive. You may not have that on Fairfield Street, it might be 2.5 or 3 inches.
and the direct buried cables,
Direct buried cables. We don't have it, the only cables that are buried in town would be owned by Fairpoint or some of the other companies. We don't have anything that's buried on the right of ways and the roads.
So how would they, so if they had to disrupt those, is that it? If there were buried cables, they'd have to pay a certain amount of fee?
Well, they got 20 cents per lineal foot to put it back in. We didn't.
But with CMP or Time Warner or any of those who might bury cables in our roads,
Right.
is that what Winslow,
Well, I
is
don't
charging?
know why Winslow or Waterville doesn't have
or
it.
even DOT?
Yeah, it's it was something we didn't feel as though we needed to address.
Because I guess the only,
Because basically, anytime they open up the road, it's gonna involve either gravel shoulder or hot top, regardless if it's cable or whatever, they're gonna have to disturb something to get to those points. You know, at that point, we don't own any cable in the road.
right, but I'm just wondering why DOT, evidently are they concerned that they might damage the cable?
I don't know. I
Or,
don't have an answer for that one.
I guess I'd just be curious to see what.
We did touch base on it, we did talk about it, and it was decided that it would be non-pertinent to the town of Oakland at this point. And I think what happened was, if you look at, pretty much everybody mirrored off of MDOT's, with the exception of Waterville and Winslow getting a $75 permit fee.
And the per linear foot of buried
And
cable.
Waterville didn't grab that, but Winslow did. And we just didn't copy them word for word, we came up with our own.
Good. So you made a motion, was a second, and all set? Did you second it? Did he come up
I don't
with it?
know that we had
No.
a second.
No,
We didn't have a second, we couldn't.
who motioned, I got post, but,
I made a motion that we,
Yeah.
have Gary propose a road opening ordinance to us for our first reading.
Second. All in favor?
Byron off the bat.
Yeah.
Thank you, man. That's all I have.
We made a motion on that, we had a second, and we, all in favor of that, and you
Setting
missed
a
that.
first reading.
Good. And he actually raised his hand and said yes. Yeah.
you're in favor, Byron, posting that ordinance.
John, do you have anything?
No.
Byron?
No.
Dana?
I don't think so.
Nothing. Byron?
Make a motion, we adjourn.
Dana?
Second,
All in favor?
Thank you, man.
just, we can change it, for sure.